the um, young adults, the high schoolers, I'm not quite exactly sure of where you are in Judges. I know you're in Judges. Um, we talked a little bit about, let's see, uh, that you might have done something in Judges 9. Does Abimelech bring forth any memories? The discussion of Abimelech? Or I might not even be pronouncing his son or the name right, but he's kind of an interesting fella. So if you want, let's kind of do a little bit of review and talk about Abimelech for a bit and see how far we get. Now, I am very much a person that likes interaction. Okay, I like to ask questions. I like to hear what you think and that kind of thing. So please be prepared for that. Advance warning, okay? All right, so Abimelech, son of Jerubbaal, went to his mother's brothers at Shechem and said to them, this is in chapter 9, verse 1, and said to them and to all his mother's clan, ask all the citizens of Shechem, which is better for you, to have all 70 of Jerubbal's sons rule over you, or just one man? Remember, I am your own flesh and blood. Okay, so where does that come from? What is he talking about there? Memories? Thoughts? Theories? Anything? Okay, so the family of Jerubbaal is actually from Gideon, okay? And Gideon had many wives and a couple of concubines, okay? All right, so of his many wives, 70 to be exact or thereabouts, he had 70 sons. Abimelech was from one of his concubines, okay? So in this time frame, he would be considered lesser than the 70 sons. However, his mother hometown was Shechem, okay? So that's what he's talking about when he says, hey, do you want 70 people whom you don't know that aren't even really from this city to govern you, or do you want one of your own sons, so to speak? All right? So the first thing we know about Abimelech is he's sneaky, right? He's trying to get around the inheritance thing and all that, saying, hey, this is who I am. I'm one of your own. Wouldn't it be better to be ruled by me than 70 strangers? Okay? We there? All right. When the brothers repeated all of this to the citizens of Shechem, they were inclined to follow Abimelech. And they said, he is related to us. They gave him 70 shekels of silver from the temple of Baal Berith, and Abimelech used it to hire reckless scoundrels who became his followers. He went to his father's home at Ophrah and on one stone murdered his 70 brothers, the sons of Jerubbaal. But Jotham, the youngest son of Jerubbaal, escaped by hiding. Then all the citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo gathered beside the great tree at the pillar of Shechem to crown Abimelech king. Okay? So this guy Abimelech's not only sneaky, he's ruthless. He killed all 70 of his brothers. And so he made himself king over Shechem. And when Jotham, was told about this, he climbed up to the top of the Mount Gerizim and shouted to them, listen to me, citizens of Shechem. so that God may listen to you. One day, trees went out to anoint a king for themselves. They said to the olive tree, be our king. But the olive tree answered, should I give up my oil, by which both gods and humans are honored, to hold sway over the trees? Next, the trees said to the fig tree, come and be our king. But the fig tree replied, should I give up my fruit, so good and so sweet, to hold the sway over the trees? Then the trees said to the vine, come and be our king. But the vine answered, should I give up my wine, which cheers both gods and men, or humans, to hold sway over the trees? Finally, the trees said to the thorn bush, come and be our king. And the thorn bush said to the trees, if you really want to anoint me king over you, come and take refuge in my shade. But if not, then let fire come out of the thorn bush and consume the cedars of Lebanon. Okay, so what's the meaning of this fable? Sure. Okay. All right. So what he's asking is, are you so desperate for a king that you will pick, right, the thorn bush, that you would pick Abimelech, whom we know is not only sneaking and conniving, but pretty ruthless? So he's kind of asking him, are you sure you want this guy to be your king? Right? Okay, so how could we today find application with this? What does this make you think about as far as today's world? Ooh, politicians, okay. Yeah. Okay. Okay. A little closer to home, a little more personal. Ouch. Okay. Right. Sure, sure. But okay. And let me think here. But yeah, and did you see how some of those people, in this case, the other trees, the other plants, were actually principled, right? He said, well, do you want me to give up what I'm doing right now just to be your king? Right? Because I got to give up my good wine that cheers both gods and humans. Do you want me to give up my oil that anoints? Right? You've got principled beings who say, wait a minute, I don't want that. So that's really kind of a hard thing, because how many times, and let's go to the church thing, how many times do you have people who might be good with what they're doing, but don't necessarily want to take that next step? Right? Okay, so let's move on, all right? All right, so, but let the thorn bush and consume the cedars of Lebanon. Now the fires would actually, those fires would actually consume them, but you're right, it would be hard. It could actually consume the very best. Okay, so here's this question. Have you acted honorably and in good faith by making Amalek king? Have you been fair to Jerubbaal and his family? Have you treated him as he deserves? Remember that my father fought for you and risked his life to rescue you from the hand of Midian. But today you have revolted against my father's family. You have murdered his 70 sons on a single stone and have made Amalek, the son of his female slave, the king over the citizens of Shechem, because he is related to you. So have you acted honorably and in good faith towards Jerubbaal and his family today? If you have, may Amalek be your joy, and may you be his too. But if you have not, let a fire come out from Amalek and consume you, the citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo, and let fire come out from you, the citizens of Shechem and Beth Millo, and consume Amalek. Okay. So, let me see. So Jotham has just kind of pointed it out to him, what exactly they did. Now, where in the world have we heard and seen of this before? And this might not be in prior reading, but where have we heard this before? Well, him pointing out exactly what they did, right? We have, a little later on, we're going to find out from a king, he gets his sin pointed out to him in the form of a fable. David and Bathsheba, right? But God does, on several occasions, point out, hey, you were wrong in doing this. And this is what Jotham has done. He's pointed out to them why this is wrong, why this is not right. And after that, after he points this out, he fled. He escaped to Beer, and he lived there because he was afraid of his brother Amalek. After Amalek, excuse me, I'm sorry, I butchered these names, something fierce, had governed Israel for 3 years. God stirred up animosity between Abimelech, and the citizens of Shechem, so that they acted treacherously against Abimelech. God did this in order that the crime against Jerubbaal's 70 sons and shedding their blood might be avenged on their brother Abimelech and on the citizens of Shechem who helped him murder his brothers. In opposition to him, these citizens of Shechem set men on hilltops to ambush and rob everyone who passed by, and this was reported to Abimelech. Thank you. Now Gaal, the son of Ebed, moved his clan into Shechem, and its citizens put their confidence in him. After they had gone out into the fields and gathered the grapes and trodden them, they held a festival in the temple of their God. While they were eating and drinking, they cursed Abimelech. Then Gaal, son of Ebed, said, "Who is Abimelech, and why should we Shechemites be subject to him? Isn't he Jerubbaal's son, and isn't Zebul his deputy? Serve the family of Hamor, Shechem's father. Why should we serve Abimelech? If only this people were under my command, then I would get rid of him. I would say to Abimelech, call out your whole army." That was pretty big words, huh? But he's making the point that Abimelech's background is not of the founders of the city, so to speak. And so now we're getting to, he's boasting. He said, okay, bring out your whole army. When Zebul, the governor of the city, heard that Gaal, son of Ebed, said, he was very angry. Under cover, he sent messengers to Abimelech, saying, Gaal, the son of Ebed, and his clan have come to Shechem and are stirring up the city against you. Now then, during the night, you and your men should come and lie in wait in the fields. In the morning at sunrise, advance against the city. When Gaal and his men come out against you, seize the opportunity to attack him. Abimelech and all his troops set out by night, took up concealed positions near Shechem in 4 companies. Now Gaal, the son of Ebed, had gone out and was standing at the entrance of the city gate, just as Abimelech and his troops came out of their hiding place. When Gaal saw them, he said to Zebul, "Look, people are coming down from the tops of the mountains." Zebul said, "You mistake the shadows of the mountains for men." But Gaal spoke up again, "Look, people are coming down from the central hill." And a company is coming down from the direction of the diviner's tree. Then Zebul said, "Where is your big talk now, you who said, 'Who is Abimelech that we should be subject to him?' Aren't these the men you ridiculed? Go out and fight them." So Gaal led out the citizens of Shechem to fight Abimelech. Abimelech chased him all the way to the entrance of the gate. Many were killed as they fled. Then Abimelech stayed at Ormon, and Zebul drove Gaal and his clan out of Shechem. Okay, so sometimes it doesn't really help to mouth off like that because you're gonna get hurt. So the next day, the people of Shechem went out into the fields, and this was reported to Abimelech. So he took his men, divided them into 3 companies, and set an ambush in the fields. And when he saw the people coming out of the city, he arose to attack them. Abimelech and the companies with him rushed forward to a position at the entrance of the city gate. Then the two companies attacked those in the fields and struck them down. All that day, Abimelech pressed his attack against the city until he had captured it and killed its people. Then he destroyed the city and scattered salt over it. Why is that? Why did he throw the salt over the ruins? Because it kills everything exactly right. Didn't want anything to grow. Wanted it to be a scourge. Just wipe it off the face of the earth, so to speak. Right? Scattered the rocks, crumbled everything, the whole 9 yards. Okay, so on hearing this, the citizens in the tower of Shechem went to the stronghold of the temple of El Berith. When Abimelech heard that they were assembled there, he and all his men went up to Mount Zalmon. He took an axe and cut off some branches, which he lifted up on his shoulders. He ordered his men with him, "Quick, do what you have seen me do." So all the men cut branches and followed Abimelech. They piled them against the stronghold to set it on fire with the people still inside. So all the people in the tower of Shechem, about 1,000 men and women, also died. Next, Abimelech went to the Bez and besieged it and captured it. Inside the city, however, was a strong tower in which all the men and women, all the people of the city, fled. They had locked themselves in and climbed up on the tower roof. Abimelech went to the tower and attacked it. But as he approached the entrance to the tower to set it on fire, a woman drops an upper millstone on his head and cracked his skull. Okay, so once he got kind of crazy with the idea that he's going to start taking care of all his rivals, so to speak, in the rival cities, the first thing he did, and I want you to notice this, is after he took care of his brothers, he ruled for about 3 years. The people of Shechem started to get kind of, things aren't so great. If you will, the honeymoon is over. And so he had this guy, Gaal, talk the whole thing up against him. He kills him off, but the people of Shechem are still talking about him. And so he decides to go up against the city. He does. Not only does he take the city, he totally destroys it, salts it. The thing that's left is a tower where everybody hides in, and he burns up the tower, kills them all. That's it. There is no more Shechem. And so while he's on this streak, he figures he might as well go next door to this next town the Bez, and he besieges it, captures it, but everybody flees to their stronghold, which is this tower. Figures he can do the same thing to this tower that he did to the first one, try and burn it, only this time, a woman, and I'm suggesting that she is probably pretty strong because a millstone is no little thing. And she chucked it down, hit him right in the head, cracked his skull. Now, let's pay a little attention to what happens here. Hurriedly, he calls to his armor bearer, draw your sword and kill me, so they can't say a woman killed him. Isn't that just a tad interesting? Why would that be a problem? Yeah. Right, right. What does that tell you about him? Even some more, if we didn't know already. Pretty arrogant, huh? And pretty self-centered too, because what happens to the poor sword bearer, right? When this is done, other people are loyal to him. What are they going to do to the sword bearer? You know, and even right then, it's like all about me. All right. So his servant ran him through, and he died. When the Israelites saw that Abimelech was dead, they went home. Thus God repaid the wickedness that Abimelech had done to his father by murdering his 70 brothers. God had also made the people of Shechem pay for all their wickedness. The curse of Jotham, the son of Jerubbaal, came on them all. Came on them. So it kind of points out that God's still in charge and he will repay, right? No matter what how sneaky, how, I don't know, whatever we are, he will repay. So going on to chapter 10, unless there's some more comments, ideas, thoughts? Yes, ma'am. Right. You know, that's a very good question that I'm probably not qualified to answer because I've never quite studied that particular aspect enough. You know, Alan, could you speak to that a little bit? Right. I mean, I don't understand the part that gets me, right, is you had Abraham with one wife, and he took, and his wife said, here's my servant, and all of that, and you saw where they weren't equal. And also we had other folks who had like two wives. One was good, the other one not so much, that kind of thing. And it goes through there. Gideon getting up to 70 or however many wives he had, I can't answer that part. I just know that Abimelech feeling like he was lesser than those 70 others because he wouldn't have received the same inheritance that they would have. Firstborn would have got the best. Then the rest of the 70, you know, on down the line. But Abimelech being a concubine's son, probably not so much. I think it more speaks to the treachery involved, but I don't know if it was because of specifically because he had been married to so many women. I'm sorry, that's a really good question. I will ask Daryl. I'm sure he has more of an answer than I could. Yeah, it very well could be. I'm sorry, I don't. That part of it I do not know. But thank you, that's a good one. That's a good thought. Okay. So let's move on. Let's start out with chapter 10. Now, chapter 10, as far as the judges go, I'm not too um, really familiar with these first two because it's really pretty quick. It says, after the time of Abimelech, a man of Issachar named Tola, son of Pua, the son of Dodo, rose to save Israel. He lived in Shamar in the hill country of Ephraim. He led Israel for 23 years, and then he died and was buried in Samar. He was followed by Jar of Gilead, who led Israel for 22 years. He had 30 sons who rode 30 donkeys. They controlled 30 towns of Gilead, which to this day were called Jar. When Jar died, he was buried at Kamon. Okay, so the thing about when it talks about, let's see, when it talks about rose to save Israel, let's see, who led Israel for 22 years, these guys are doing or are following in, say, the footsteps of Moses and Joshua, who were not kings, but strictly kind of judges. They helped the people figure out their disputes, but they also led them militarily. Okay, so it's really close to being what we would think a king is, but they were judges. They didn't have that title. Abimelech was the only one who tried to take that title of king, and it was only of the town, Shechem. Okay? All right, so again, the Israelites did evil in the eyes of the Lord. They served the Baals and Ashtaroth and the gods of Aram and the gods of Sidon and the gods of Moab, the gods of the Amorites and the gods of the Philistines. And because the Israelites forsook the Lord and no longer served him, he became angry with them. He sold them into the hands of the Philistines and to the Amorites, who that year shattered and crushed them. For 18 years they oppressed the Israelites on the east side of the Jordan in Gilead, the land of the Amorites. The Amorites also crossed the Jordan to fight with Judah, Benjamin, and Ephraim. Israel was in great distress. Then the Israelites called out to the Lord, We have sinned against you, forsaking our God and serving the Baals. And the Lord replied, when the Egyptians, the Amorites, the Ammonites, the Philistines, the Sidonians, the Amalekites, and the Moabites oppressed you, and you cried out to me for help, did I not save you from their hands? But you have forsaken me and served other gods, so I will no longer save you. Go and cry to the gods you have chosen. Let them save you when you are in trouble. Ouch. Ouch. That kind of seems like something we would say, wouldn't it? I mean, you know, if our kids were like talking to grandma about stuff, you'd say, okay, well, let grandma do it, or something like that. And that's just an example. But that seems like a pretty fair answer for what they were doing, doesn't it? Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. This has happened since Egypt for sure. Every time they start feeling pretty good, they start going another way, and this happens to them. But notice he let it go for about 18 years. Okay, so the Israelites answered him again, and he said, but the Israelites said to the Lord, we have sinned. Do with us whatever you think is best, but please rescue us now. Then they got rid of the foreign gods among them and served the Lord. And he could bear Israel's misery no longer. When the Ammonites were called to arms and camped at Gilead, the Israelites assembled and camped at Mizpah. The leaders of the people of Gilead said to each other, "Whoever will take the lead in attacking the Amalekites will be the head over all who live in Gilead." Now Japheth, the Gileadite, was a mighty warrior. His father was Gilead. His mother was a prostitute. Gilead's wife also bore him sons, and when they were grown up, they drove Japheth away. "You are not going to get any inheritance in our family," they said, "because you are the son of another woman." So Japheth fled from his brothers and settled in the land of Tob, where a gang of scoundrels gathered around him and followed him. Sometime later, when the Ammonites were fighting against Israel, the elders of Gilead went to Japheth from the land of Tob. "Come," they said, "be our commanders so we can fight the Ammonites." Japheth said to them, "Didn't you hate me and drive me from my father's house? Why do you come to me now when you're in trouble?" We've heard an answer kind of like this before, haven't we? Just a couple of verses ago. The elders of Gilead said to him, "Nevertheless, we are turning to you now. Come with us to fight the Ammonites, and you will be head over all of us who live in Gilead." Japheth answered, "Suppose you take me back to fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gives them to me. Will I really be your head?" The elders of Gilead replied, "The Lord is our witness. We will certainly do as you say." So Japheth went with the elders of Gilead, and the people made him the head and commander over them. He repeated all his words before the Lord at Mizpah. Okay. So that's quite a bit. And what I kind of want to note here, and we've seen it before, but one of the things that is important is God picks the person. People don't pick the person, right? Because he was the son of a woman of ill fame, all right? He was not considered to be honorable. You know, he ran with scoundrels. He's kicked out of his family's home. But the Lord said, "I can use this guy. Regardless of what everybody else thinks, I can use this guy. Go get him." Right? And isn't that, don't we kind of see that time and time again in stuff? You know? So it really is, the Lord knows. And the Lord, it kind of, if you will, gives me hope, right? Because I know I'm lesser, not more. So it gives me hope. Maybe I got a chance, right? And so I think it's very important. That's a really important point about how he picks people. All right. Then Japheth sent a message to the Ammonite king. Let me see here. These pages get stuck sometimes. There we go. Sent to him this question: "What do you have against me that you are attacking my country?" The king of the Ammonites answered Japheth's messengers, "When Israel came up out of Egypt, they took away my land from the Arnon and the Jabbok all the way to the Jordan. Now give it back peaceably." Japheth sent back messengers to the Ammonite king, saying, "This is what Japheth says: Israel did not take the land of Moab or the land of the Ammonites, but when they came up out of Egypt, Israel went through the wilderness to the Red Sea and on to Kadesh. Then Israel sent messengers to the king of Edom, saying, 'Give us permission to go through your country.' But the king of Edom would not listen. They sent also to the king of Moab, and he refused. So Israel stayed at Kadesh. Next, they traveled through the wilderness, skirting the lands of Edom and Moab, passed along the eastern side of the country of Moab, and camped on the other side of the Arnon. They did not enter the territory of Moab, for Arnon was its border. Then Israel sent messengers to Sihon, king of the Amorites, who ruled at Heshbon, and said to him, "Let us pass through your country to our own place." Sihon, however, did not trust Israel to pass through his territory. He mustered all his troops and encamped at Jahaz and fought with Israel. Then the Lord, the God of Israel, gave Sihon and his whole army into Israel's hands, and they defeated them. Israel took over the lands of the Amorites who lived in that country, capturing all of it from Arnon to Jabbok and from the desert to the Jordan. Now, since the Lord, the God of Israel, has driven the Amorites out before his people Israel, what right do you have to take it over? Will you not take what your God Chemosh gives you? Therefore, whatever the Lord our God has given us, we will possess. Are you any better than Balak, son of Zippor, king of Moab? Did he ever quarrel with Israel or fight with them? For 300 years, Israel occupied Heshbon, Aroer, the surrounding settlements, and all the towns along Arnon. Why don't you retake them during that time? Or why didn't you retake them during that time? I have not wronged you, but you are doing me wrong by waging war against me. Let the Lord, the judge, decide the dispute this day between the Israelites and the Ammonites. The king of Ammon, however, paid no attention to the message Japheth sent him. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Japheth. He crossed Gilead and Manasseh, passed through Mizpah of Gilead, and from there he advanced against the Ammonites. Japheth made a vow to the Lord, "If you give me the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out the door of my house to meet me, when I return in triumph from the Ammonites, will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering." Okay. So that's an awful lot. What I want you to think of, though, what I want you to remember is the vow. What he just said, his vow to God. Then Japheth went over and fight the Ammonites, and the Lord gave them into his hands. He devastated 20 towns from Aroer, to the vicinity of Minthith and as far as Abel Carmel. Thus Israel subdued Ammon. When Japheth returned to his home in Mizpah, who should come out to meet him but his daughter, dancing to the sound of the timbrels? She was an only child. Except for her, he had neither son nor daughter. When he saw her, he tore his clothes and cried, "Oh no, my daughter, you have brought me down, and I am devastated, for I have made a vow to the Lord that I cannot break." Okay. That would be an exceptionally hard pill to swallow. Thoughts? Come on, we got to have some thoughts about that. What would we do in that situation? Come on. Say it. You're thinking it. Say it. Come on. What would we do? Yeah? Somebody might? Is there any way do we have any wiggle room here? Wiggle room. Is there any way to weasel out of it? Right? you're reading ahead. But
I mean, it does make you wonder, my God, not do with valves.
right? Right, right.
For us as humans, I think it's just kind of beyond our capability to totally understand why something like that would happen.
All right, so I'm going to throw something out here. Why did God let him go through with this one when he didn't let Abraham go through with his sacrifice?
I was thinking,
Right.
well, and God has to
Yeah,
sacrifice.
true. That was,
Say, hindsight, maybe 2020,
yep.
either make a vow.
Don't think he needed to even make the vow, that he needed to make a vow, you know? And I, yeah, yeah, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Okay, so let's see what happens here. The daughter speaks up and she says, "My father," she replied, you have given your word to the Lord. Do to me just as you promised. Now that the Lord has avenged you of your enemies, the Ammonites. But grant me this one request," she said. "Give me 2 months to roam the hills and to weep with my friends, because I will never marry." "You may go," he said, and he let her go for 2 months. She and her friends went into the hills and wept because she never married. After 2 months, she returned to her father, and he did to her as he vowed, and she was a virgin. From this comes the Israelite tradition that each year the young women of Israel go out for 4 days and commemorate the daughter of Japheth the Gileadite. Yeah, it's time for us to quit. So, any closing comments? Yeah, I think the Bible tells us that people who go against God are going to end up in hell, separated from God. Thank you. Thank you all for your attention today. I appreciate it. I know this isn't the normal way your class goes, but I do appreciate you putting up with me